Hello, everyone, and welcome to the National Coming Out Day live stream for We Three Queens. All right, we're good. We're golden. We are live, everyone.
Watching, and I don't have
Hooray!
Wonderful.
There's a delay, I think.
There's a major delay.
Yeah.
Only 30 seconds later.
All right.
Doesn't actually play.
Hey.
Hi, everyone.
Awesome sauce. So let's go ahead and get into this. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Royal Decree for We Three Queens Productions. I'm Kenny, and this is the rest of the Royal Court. It's National Coming Out Day, which honestly, it means a lot to all of us. We're going to go ahead and start off with Finn with some announcements.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I am Finn, and I am the marketing director for We Three Queens. And I am here to talk to you guys about what's going on with us lately. So we've got two big projects that we're currently working on. One of them is our Vote project, our Why Am I Voting project. That is happening both on our streaming group, which is where you're at right now, and on Instagram. Basically, we are taking 10 to 20 minute video clips of why everyone's voting. Just why are you voting?
10 to,
Why
20,
is it?
10 to 20 seconds.
Yes, 10 to 20 seconds. That's what I said, right?
You said minutes.
Oh, shoot, no. 10 to 20 second video clips sharing why we're voting, because, you know, voting is always important. It's always important to do your civic duty, but I think now is a more important time than ever to get out the vote as much as possible. So if you're interested in joining us on that project, you can always film a little clip of yourself, like I said, 10 to 20 seconds, not minutes, and you know, upload it to Instagram, tag us at We Three Queens, and we might feature you on our story or even on our feed. And it's just a quick thing of why you're voting. It's super important. That is going all the way through until Election Day. And then we also are gearing up for our Red Show, the Red Show. And we have a date for that now that is officially happening December 4th. Yay! So that is our show in honor of HIV/AIDS Awareness Month, and that is to raise money for AIDS Action Baltimore, which is an excellent organization dedicated to providing advocacy for people in the Baltimore community and in the surrounding areas who are either trying to prevent HIV/AIDS or who are being treated for HIV/AIDS. They do trans advocacy, they do all kinds of great stuff. There's going to be more info on that forthcoming, but we are casting for the Red Show right now. So if you're interested in joining us, all you have to do is send us a little email real quick and just include your preferred name, your preferred pronouns, your email address, and a brief pitch of what kind of number you're doing. It's a variety show, so we want to have as much variety as we possibly can get. So any, you know, singing, poetry, dancing, whatever you got for us, we're here for it. So definitely send along an email because we would love to have you guys be a part of our next production.
Thank you, Finn. Next, we're going to have Sean give us just a little bit of what National Coming Out Day is and how it started.
Hey everyone, this is Sean, your artistic director of We Three Queens Productions. And I have to be honest, I was doing research about Coming Out Day, and you know, I thought it was just a simple day. We picked a random day and we're celebrating our stories of coming out, but there's so much history that you're about to be educated. You're about to get some education and learn some things. I didn't even realize the reasons why we are celebrating on this day. So today is actually the 32nd annual Coming Out Day. The first National Coming Out Day was started on October 11th in 1988. So this was over 32 years ago, just did the math. And the reason why we did it and the reason why we picked October 11th was because on October 11th, 1987, that was the first, there was a national march on the mall for LGBTQ rights. So we are going to be discussing that a little bit later. But just to explain what National Coming Out Day actually is and what it represents, National Coming Out Day is an observed civil awareness day recognized annually, again, first started in 1988, on October 11th. The day celebrates individuals who publicly identify as bisexual, gay, lesbian, transgender, and coming out regarding their sexual orientation and or gender identity, and being akin to the cultural rite of passage for the LGBTQ people. It is also at first, when they were first starting National Coming Out Day, the first year was in 1988. Their second year, 1989, only 21 states in the United States were actually celebrating National Coming Out Day. The following year was when we were able to get all 50 states actually involved. And we also want to share that National Coming Out Day today, 2020, is celebrated in several different countries, including Ireland, Switzerland, and the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom, as well as the United States. The National Coming Out organization first started off as its own entity, and now it has been connected and absorbed into the Human Rights Campaign. More about the specific history of the day and of the specific day. Again, on October 11th, it is the National Coming Out Day in the United States. It's celebrated each year to mark the anniversary of the 1987 National March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights. And I know I can go much further into what these rights and this march was about, but we are going to post more information on our website tomorrow, so you can follow up and learn some more information about this march. But really quick, it's 500,000 people were marching in Washington for LGBTQ rights and the identity. And this was also right in the middle of the HIV/AIDS crisis. So there was a ton going on when they were marching. And again, we're on our website. We're going to have more information about that specific march and about the two people, Robert Eichberg and Jean O'Leary, who actually started the day itself. Finally, to put a little bit of a timeline and dates standard, 2015, June was when marriage equality was passed. The first year that we celebrated National Coming Out Day was October 11th, 1987. Again, 32 years ago. The previous year was when, in October 11th, 1987, was March. Stonewall happened in 69. So there was like 20-year difference right there. And I think the craziest thing that I learned, everyone, and hopefully I can educate you and this is what you remember. The first documented gay rights organization was founded in 1924. So it has been over, gosh, we're almost at 100 years. I can't do that math, but it's in the high 90 years. And that was the Society for Human Rights, which was founded by Henry Gerber in Chicago. So that is a lot of the history behind National Coming Out Day. Again, it's a day that we celebrate not only to give our voices a chance to be heard, but it's a day that we're celebrating, everything that we're fighting for and everything that the LGBT community is known for, and to be able to share our stories. So this is just another way we can celebrate gay pride. The end.
Thank you, Sean. Up next, we got Gary.
Hello. So I'm going to be telling the first of this. We're each going to share our personal coming out story because everyone has a little bit different in this world we have. So I'll be sharing my story first. I'm Gary Bernard DiNardo, the executive director for We Three Queens Productions. And my coming out story, I am very happy to say it has a tidbit of drama with a happy ending. So my story is that I
Thanks for a good Ryan Murphy movie.
my story is that I realized I was not straight. I was still figuring out the details back then. When I was 16, and just told a few friends. Shortly thereafter, my parents found out, and I, without my wanting to tell them yet, and my mother was very, very embracing of me. She reinforced that she loved me dearly and no matter what. And when it came to my father, I never gave him a chance to talk. I actually was kind of mean to my dad before and didn't give him an opportunity to speak. But when he finally did get a chance to open his mouth, because I kept shutting it for him, he informed me that he loved me no matter what. And he reinforced that your love of your children is all that matters. Everything else is business that you just have to work through. So I am very fortunate, and I recognize that, and I'm thankful for that, because I know that not everyone else has that. And as everyone's telling as we each tell our story right now, I really want to emphasize that this is our story. This is our individual story, and it was the right time for us. Some of us had it thrust upon us, but it was the right time for us. When it comes to your coming out story, it is whenever it is right for you, and no one can tell you what that is. It may be that you are not in a situation where it is safe to come out. It may be in a situation where you don't feel like you will have the support system you need to come out. When it is right for you, that is when it is right to come out. So do not feel like National Coming Out Day is any sort of decree that you need to. Tell your own story, make your own story, and make sure that you are safe as you do so. That's what matters. So with that, I will pass it along to Kenny to tell the next one.
My story was actually I was sort of pushed out of the closet, because okay, I am a sucker for romantic gay themed movies. I can't. I just love them. They make me happy. Yeah.
Oh my god, what's Eating Out? That's one of those movies that you have to love, but I just love that one. But continue. I love that movie.
And I would always hide it because it's almost considered porn, which it really isn't. And I had a relative find it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just holding it for someone. That's not mine at all." But the conversation came about, and it was something as if a weight had lifted off of my shoulders when I finally said, "Oh yeah, I like guys." It was in the Black community. Being gay is one of the things that we just don't talk about. It's not that we ignore it. It's like, oh, that's your issue, not ours. But it became a family thing at that point. My mother, I love her. I love her so much. She didn't take it very well at first. It took her some time to warm up to her son being gay, but now, my God, she's so supportive and so loving. It's almost overbearing, but I love it. um, but when it came to my dad, it it started off as being very, very distant. And it wasn't until like 2014 when we were having a road trip to North Carolina to where it is discussed, and he, you know what? I've seen that you haven't changed. You are still my child, and I love you no matter what. And I was like, Dad, stop. But so it started off as being really rough, but like the old saying goes, it gets better. It gets so much better, and you get to be once you start living your truth, nothing can stop you, honey. Nothing can stop you. Okay. And I'm going to pass it down to Sean.
Hey, Kenny, I have to echo what you just said that one of the joys about coming out is that you're able to start really becoming the person who you're truly meant to be, and who you become your most authentic, truest self, which is a beautiful thing to discover. My coming out story was, I actually remember the date. I am kind of a date guy. It was November 17th, 2000. It was my junior year in high school. I would have been 16. I would have been the same age as Gary. So we had just did our fall play, which was Pride and Prejudice. I played Mr. Collins. That was amazing. Thank you. You're welcome. And we were having a cast party. It was at my friend Una's house. And random side note, she lived right beside a graveyard. And, this is totally random and off topic. Did you guys know there was a difference between cemetery and a graveyard?
Yes.
All right,
I learned that recently. That's crazy.
I know, but back to the point. So so we were at the cast party, and there was this really cute guy. His name was Mike. That we were kind of just chatting and talking about the whole entire time. I believe some of the fellow Decree would know him, Mike Pepley. And so I was, chatting with him, and he drove off. And my friend Aaron Gann, one of my really dearest friends, was there with me. And I kind of just looked at her and I said, I think I'm gay. Like, I think I am. And she was like, okay. And I remember the next day I ran down to her house. We were like, oh my gosh. But going back to what Gary said and his point about you come out in your own time, that was when I came out to my close friends. I didn't come out to my brother and my sister-in-law. They were the first people until I was in college. I came out to my sister-in-law. It was over the phone. And my sister-in-law said, well, you might as well tell your brother. So I told him over the phone. I told my mom when I started working at a gay bar. I figured, might as well. So I put the website of the bar up on my computer. And I was like, Mom, you should check out the bar that I'm working at now. And of course, I knew it was going to be fine. So that was more of like a little poke, a little fun at being able to tell her. And then my experience with my dad was much later. He was very accepting of it, but some of the other language I won't relay to you guys was very disheartening. But it wasn't like he was anti me being homosexual or gay. It was the lecture that I got after it. It was just like why? Just say thank you. It just turned it all into himself. So what I will end with is like what Gary said, to anyone who's listening, you will come out in your own time and you will know when it's right. My story, I came out in 2000, then it was 2004, then it was 2006. So I was different years to different people. You'll know when it's right. And ever since then, and ever since starting this production company, I feel like I've been now just living my most authentic self, and I have not felt this good about who I've become and who I am becoming. And it's because of the support of my community. So if you are alone out there, you need resources, we're going to have resources so you can call someone. And you can always reach out to us through our website and through social media, and we will be your accepting, social distancing family on social media. So that is my story. I will now pass it along to Finn.
Hello, everyone. Hello again, rather. So the point I like to make about coming out is that coming out happens in waves. you know, it's not, a lot of the time, it's not just this one grand event. I've actually come out 3 times in my life, and none of them were on National Coming Out Day. So, you know, perfect, great, nailed it. The first time I came out as bi, and that was when, you know, my mother was still with us, and I came out to her, and that was when I was 14. And it was what I can only describe as blissfully uneventful. She was a college professor, and she was grading papers in her easy chair. And I was sitting on the couch across from her, and I said, "Mom," and she looks up, she goes, "Yeah." I go, "I'm bisexual." She goes, "Okay, thank you for telling me," and then goes back down to her paper. Like, it was just a very casual, normal thing. And, you know, sometimes flippancy is exactly what you need in that kind of moment, because you're building up and building up and building up, and there's so much anxiety, and then it happens, and it's just like, "Oh, all right." You know, like, and it was just a huge sigh of relief for me. I wasn't really, you know, I knew she was going to be accepting of me, because my mom was a very open, very understanding, very progressive person. So she was totally fine with all of that. And then the second time, I was a lot more closeted for a while. I discovered that, you know, the gender identity that I felt within myself had a name, and that name was non-binary. But at the time, you know, this was, oh gosh, I think I was in college. I was like a junior in college, sophomore or junior. And non-binary wasn't much, like, it was still a very new concept. So I didn't really talk about it unless other people brought it up. So I only really talked about it in queer circles. And I didn't really care about my pronouns. I was like, whatever, it's fine. They're just words anyway, right? No, not at all. As I came to find out later. So time goes by, time passes. I'm still non-binary, but I don't really talk about it much. And then I kind of was forced to come to terms with it when the most recent presidential election happened. And, you know, I watched the TV screen as the current president was announced, and I was filled with this anger and this paralyzing fear. I was afraid for my queer brethren, my queer siblings, you know, whose rights were at risk. I was afraid for myself. I was afraid for my family and all of my friends. And I knew then and there that I was going to have to live louder. I was going to have to care more about my identity and really entrench myself in it. Because if I was going to be, you know, an inspiration and a good ally to the people around me for whom coming out wasn't safe, I needed to be louder, because I had the privilege of a very supportive background, and not everyone has that. So I decided right then and there, sitting in front of the TV, that I was going to use that privilege to help other people and help get our, you know, make it so that it's not unsafe for people to come out. And so I had to come out to myself, which was one of the hardest things I have ever done in my entire life. And I realized that all of the terrible feelings that I was feeling about my own body over the last decade were dysphoria. And I realized that I wasn't happy in my body, and that my gender identity, you know, my gender expression on the outside wasn't matching my gender identity on the inside. And so after hemming and hawing about it for, you know, months, and some considerable encouragement from my queer family, including my drag parents, shout out to Anita Minute and Justin Sane, couldn't do it without you. I successfully scheduled and underwent top surgery, and I announced it publicly on Facebook, on everywhere. And I was just like, "Hey, what's up? I'm trans." And it still felt weird to say, you know, it was like, "Oh shit, I'm trans." And it was very, you know, it was very accepting overall. You know, a lot of people were very, very accepting of it. There were a few people who asked some probing questions. There were a few, you know, friends lost. But the final thing that I will close with is that anyone who does not immediately, readily accept you in your identity as a queer person was never a friend you wanted in your life to begin with. And I say that with all of the love in the world, but it's just the truth, fam. The people who matter will not mind. The people who matter will stand by you and will embrace you regardless of what your outsides or your insides look like.
Preach. Preach. All right. Now we're gonna go into a little bit of. Should we do a Q&A first, or should we just finish with the list that we have?
Well, I was actually going to try to. There are a few things I wanted to ask each of you about your stories to kind of flesh them out. And if you do want to hear, each of us has created a coming out story video, which you can check out on our website, or we'll be posting it on our Facebook page as well.
And YouTube.
And YouTube.
Don't forget the tube.
Social media. But so I could obviously talk about my life all the time, but I want to know, Kenny, you and I had a similar experience in that we both were kind of pushed out a little bit in our different ways. But Sean, when it came to your deciding what times were right for you, what was preventing you from speaking to those people immediately? Like, what were the things that inhibited because like you said, your mom was great and your dad still loves you. You still got the lecture, but what were the things that prevented you from just coming right on out once you realized it?
I think, well, to coming out the first time, like just to my friends, like the first adult that I came out to was my theater teacher. I think what took me so long to get to that step was because I was still figuring it out. I was still figuring out, what was going on in my mind. I was trying to understand, my sexuality. I started realizing I was looking at boys a lot more. I wasn't really interested in girls. I was more concerned about, Scott Woods wearing a short t-shirt today that's showing off the biceps. And it's like, wait, what? I'm not. So I think that was real person, by the way. So I think that was kind of like the first step. Was I was still trying to figure it out. And once everything just clicked, again, in that moment, like I said, I just turned to Aaron and I was like, I'm gay. When he came out to my family, it was more nerves. It was really more nerves. I had built up this image and this idea that they were going to reject me. Again, this was back in the early 2000s. So, being gay was a lot different in America. We were just coming down from the HIV epidemic. So there was still a lot of stigma behind being gay and being a homosexual, specifically talking about homosexual. So there was just a lot of stigma around it. So I was just afraid that I was going to get rejected. Like we heard so many times, like whenever I heard a coming out story, there was always rejection. And I didn't want that. And just like we all kind of said, and like Finn, you said so perfectly, this, it was just this, you tell them and you're like, okay. You build up this idea that it's going to be dramatic and it's going to be tragic and you're going to be living out of your car, moving up to New York City and doing all this stuff. And it's just, yeah, we just love you. You're cool. Tell your brother. And it's like, oh. And another show, we were kind of talking about this earlier. Another show I think that beautifully displayed that was Schitt's Creek. In the fifth season, where they had the whole story with not David.
Spoiler alerts.
Sorry, spoiler alert. Amazing show. I won't go any further, but they beautifully executed how serious it is. But if you're in a relationship where it's all love, they wrote that beautifully. So I think that's the reason why it was just this fear of being rejected because I was different. I wasn't the norm. I wasn't, the jock playing football or kicking around the soccer ball anymore. I was GQ all the way, professional high school actor. So, I was keeping up with this different image that didn't fit the stereotype of a heterosexual. So I think that was it. It's just this fear and this buildup.
Thank you. And Finn, you certainly have had a different experience than the three of us, in that you had to come out multiple times in multiple ways. Have you experienced anything, for example, I know that you said you had some friends that have been lost along the way. Did you have any times where it affected your professional life?
So that's a great question. I work in the beauty industry, and during the time that I was working, like I said, I was in that space where I was non-binary. I was a little more out about it than I used to be, but it really, they would use inaccurate pronouns with me and I would not correct them. I just, I was very passive about everything because, you know, an important point that I would like to make is that where I live in Maryland is an at-will employment state, which means that you can be fired from any job for any reason and no reason at all. And at-will employment creates an atmosphere where any anti-discrimination law is null and void, because, they could fire you for being trans, but say that they fired you for missing a spot mopping the other day. So it really doesn't matter. Now, with that being said, my job, like I said, I worked in the beauty industry. The beauty industry is very queer friendly. The beauty industry is mostly populated with queer people. So it was a very friendly place to be authentically myself. And I've been furloughed now since about April, and I got my top surgery back in August. So they hadn't even really gotten to see me and gotten to know the new me now that I am actually actively transitioning. But I went there to get my hair done recently. Not that I have much hair to do, but my sister was getting her hair cut and I was like, oh, why not? I'll go get my hair cut because, of course I get complimentary services because I work for the salon team. And so I got my hair cut by my boss. And I was friended with my boss on Facebook. So I was like, okay, undoubtedly she's heard about the top surgery. Undoubtedly she's, seen everything that's been going on. And she stood behind me in the chair. And one of the first things she did was she leaned down and she said, what are your pronouns? And I said, they, them. And she said, okay, perfect. And that was that. It was the same kind of beautiful, simple acceptance of, okay, this is the you that you authentically are. I'm going to respect that. And I've loved that. So really professionally, of course, since I've been furloughed, there haven't really been that much in the way of professional repercussions because I haven't been back to work yet. But I have no doubt in my mind that my workplace will be very accepting of my identity, because where I work is a very universally progressive, accepting place. I will have to teach some of my coworkers what non-binary is. We had a Pride event last year and everyone had to do Pride makeup, and I did makeup inspired by the trans Pride flag, which is pink, white, and blue. And my coworkers didn't know what flag that was. They said, what flag is that? And I said, oh, it's trans Pride. And they were like, are you trans? And I was like, yeah, I'm non-binary. And they were like, what's non-binary? And I was like, okay, do you have a minute? Sit down.
Let me put on my hat.
That
Let
is
me put on my hat real quick.
Oh, wait,
that
wait.
is a whole podcast
Pokemon.
right there.
Yeah, it was a lot. But I mean, as soon as I explained it, just without question, they were like, okay, yes, 110%, we're with you, we're behind you. I know that I am a minority in that regard. A lot of trans people face discrimination in the workplace, and it's something that's important to bring up and to continue bringing up, because everyone's story should be exactly like mine.
Awesome. Yes. And there are, I think all of us are very fortunate and thankful that we've had fairly positive experiences for the most part. And, but yes, there are those times when a person comes out and they are met with outright negativity, or there are occasions where somebody just might say the wrong thing because they don't know how to react. and to that, Kenny, um, speaking of people who don't know how to react, no, no, Kenny, your dad had a wonderful conversation with you down the line. Were there things when you first came out that were said? What are things that you feel like could have been said or were said that were great? What are things that were said that were not so great? And or is there, if you don't want to say the specific things of your life, what are some things that could or have been said to people that are maybe not the right thing to say, and what might be better?
We actually touched upon this in the interview that Jen and I had, but because of time, we ended up cutting it out, which the full interview, unedited, is on YouTube currently. She was actually the first person that I actually came out to when I was, I want to say 19 years old. She at that time was 14 going on 15. It's been a long while. And when I came out to her, she was like, "Oh, I've always wanted a gay best friend." And it was such an innocent, beautiful moment that in retrospect, we both were like, yeah, I could have said something totally different than just that. But one of the things that really sort of like bothered my family was, I'll just say namely my mother, because my family, we're not big on talking about our emotions, and we're not big on like pressing the really big issue button. So what she did was she wrote me a letter. And that's pretty much what we've always been doing. If an emotion is too high, we write a letter. And in it, she was more concerned of me contracting HIV/AIDS than anything else. And I was like, okay, that's understandable, but that should not make you not a not what am I trying to say?
It's like, it's kind of like the one, it does, you, when you come out, because that was kind of like my experience with my dad, you know, just because I'm a homosexual, that shouldn't be the next thing. Like those things shouldn't be connected. And, you know, those are things we're going to talk about in the Red Show coming at you December 4th, 2020. And we're going to be talking about some of that. But yeah, I totally get that.
Some of the things that really people should not say is, I know. Honestly, okay. I've been watching a lot of TV during this COVID time. And when I'm not editing videos for these group of people, I was watching this series called Love, Victor, and that coming out scene was literally perfect because he didn't say anything. He just hugged him and said, "I'm here for you no matter what." And I'm like, perfect. But yeah, that's where I am.
Well, and yeah, and I think for any person who is coming out, people are most scared of the idea that the people who love them will no longer love them. And I know for my time when I came out, that was, I had like forced that narrative in my mind that my family might not, when they had given me no reason to think otherwise, or to think that they would not love me. And I had created this fear in myself. So yeah, best thing to do or say, reinforce, I love you. Move on from there, because at that, like, as soon as that is said, at least we can keep the conversation going with that knowledge that I love you, and we can go from here. The rest is business. Thanks, Dad, for reminding me of that.
So maybe that could be something that we can talk about next, is, you know, how you should support someone who is coming out. You know, we just shared about our own personal stories, but I'll leave this to the royal courts to offer some wonderful tips and suggestions and how-tos. But how should we react? What should we say when someone approaches us and says those beautiful words, I'm gay, I'm trans, I'm non-binary, I'm bi, I'm lesbian, what do you do?
Well, one of the big things is if you love this person, like I just said, tell them. From there, it doesn't matter how excited, how happy you are to celebrate this truth with them. It's their story to tell, it's their narrative to tell, and do not take that away from them. Outing somebody is a horrible violation. And so if you are excited for someone, great, celebrate that with that person, celebrate that with the people you know that person has told. Do not take away the opportunity for that person to tell somebody else, because it takes away a very large part of that person's experience.
Yeah.
And an opportunity for them to be their authentic self, however that needs to be expressed. So,
And I will add to that, as a trans person who has been outed to portions of my family by other people, it not only takes away the experience from the queer person, but it also can be dangerous, because that person is going to have a plan for how they want to come out to who and when and all of that. And certain parts of their social circle are going to have a higher risk factor when it comes to coming out than others. And so if you go and you out them to somebody, they could end up getting hurt, they could end up getting rejected, and especially in terms of the trans community, in particular trans women of color, they could end up getting killed. So I want to emphasize that outing is dangerous, outing is not okay. So definitely don't out somebody. And then I'll say too, from a trans perspective, because coming out about your gender identity is decidedly different than coming out about your sexual orientation. It's very important to let the queer person sort of lead the process. They are the ones who are being this vulnerable with you, so let them be in control of what they share. But I found, what was a big help to me and a big help to other genderqueer people who have come out to me, has been asking them about their identity so you can affirm them, because that's a great part about being a member of the trans community is your allies can affirm you every day. Like, one of the first things out of my mouth when someone comes out to me is usually, what are your pronouns? Because you can use that. That is such a little thing, but the look on someone's face when you hit their pronoun for the first time, and their preferred pronoun that they've established for themselves, I mean, it is chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Preferred names are also important. If that person has a new name that they want to go by, learn that name. If you can learn someone's new last name when they get married, you can learn someone's new last name when they transition.
You better preach.
I remember you, sorry to jump in, I remember you telling us, these moments that you've experienced before. Yeah, it's so important. And speaking to what you were saying, and I didn't mean to cut you off, what I'm taking from it is that it's, this moment as the person receiving this knowledge, and being the listener to someone coming out, this moment's not about you.
No.
And I think all of us are kind of touching on that too. You just need to be present, you need to be supportive, and you just need to acknowledge it and find out what Finn said, find out pronouns, find out, their names, how they want to be referred to, find out their story, let them talk, because they're going to know their experience more than you are as the listener. So really just keep it an open ear, and just support and love.
Absolutely. Supporting and loving. And, those are tangible ways that you can show your love and support for someone, especially someone in a vulnerable community like the trans community is right now. We've all seen the news over and over again. For now, trans rights are still firmly in our grasp in most ways, but that could change in an instant. And vote. That's about the most supportive thing you can do for trans people as an ally, is vote. But I mean, even beyond that, by coming out to you, we are exposing ourselves in a very vulnerable way. and we're putting ourselves out there. And if anything, it means that we feel safe around you. So don't take that relationship for granted. You know, don't mess that up.
Yeah. And I know we're gonna get to it maybe if we didn't have anything else we wanted to share about being an advocate, an ally to someone coming out and being that second person. I know Kenny is going to go into this, but we are going to provide resources for anyone. If you are a family member, a mom, a dad, an aunt or uncle, if you are a teen who is trying to figure out their identity, I found this beautiful coming out handbook that is from the Human Rights
Trevor
Campaign.
Project, right?
Trevor Project, yes, from the Trevor Project, and it's 20 pages. It's a free download. You can print it. You can get it on your tablet, your phone, and it explains in more detail everything we've touched about the different ways you can come out. You know, with sexual identity and sexual gender and your gender identity. You know, how to, if you're coming out as trans, what does that mean? If you're coming out as bi, what does that mean? And tons of resources. We have resources for trans community, family community, the younger generation. And I will zoom all that off to Kenny and let him finish that rant. Or whoever's doing it, someone's doing it. They took their job.
I have, in this moment, decided there needs to be a word. So we all know the term microaggression, I think, and a fine example of microaggression is using the wrong pronouns for someone. We need an antonym for that. And I've decided that like situations where using the right pronouns for people is
Microaffection.
Microfortification. Because you're actually helping that person raise their defenses to support who they are as a whole person. So anyway, sorry, Kenny, I think you were gonna go.
Are we going to go right to the resources, or are we going to talk about how to support for the work?
Oh yeah, do that.
I was like, are we skipping? Okay, cool.
I was so excited about sharing all the resources that we found and we discovered. Again, go to our website, go to our YouTube. It's the 100th time we've said it. Knowledge is power. And Instagram. Shooting star. Knowledge is power.
All the that we have gathered, I will be posting to the website either later tonight or they'll be available, especially tomorrow morning, as well as the coming out stories for all four of us. So be on the lookout for that. At the very end of this, I will share our website and I will share how to find us on YouTube. Thank you all. But yeah, how can you support the LGBTQ community at work? Finn definitely posted upon this. The Supreme Court has ruled this summer that employees can't be fired for being trans, but that doesn't mean that being openly trans at work is easy or even safe.
Yeah, you know, there's still so much that is still at risk.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in at-will employment states, because like I was saying before, in at-will employment states, they don't need to give a reason for firing you. So they could be firing you for being trans, but all they have to do is say, oh no, we're not firing them because they're trans, we're firing them because they had performance issues or no reason at all. And so discrimination lawsuits in at-will employment states rarely ever hold up. And so it's important to be an in-work ally to your trans folks, because just because we're protected federally does not mean we're safe.
Definitely start using the correct pronouns. I'm gonna be very candid for a moment. So I have known Finn since they were like 15 years old. And so I have seen them go from being their dead name to now Finn, and feel like I am closer to Finn now than I ever had been in our entire like 15-year friendship.
That's just because you're closer to me being me, honey. That was somebody else you knew before.
And closer to Finn now too.
That's
That's
and
Patricia. We don't know her.
another micro fortification a person can do at work to support is, I mean, we've all learned how to use email for work now. An easy thing you can do in your signature line, even if you are a cisgender person, putting in your putting in your pronouns, excuse me. It just, at the very least, it shows that you're an ally.
And it normalizes it. It makes it less weird for us to be doing it. So even if you're cis, normalize stating your pronouns.
And I want to be better.
And
That-
another like microaffection, this isn't necessarily something that's safe for everyone to do in every workplace, but I've heard of on TikTok, there was a teacher that I was following who was a lesbian, and she had a little rainbow flag in her classroom. And that not only affirmed her identity, but it also affirmed the identity of her students who were adolescents, who were just coming to terms with their own identities, who were maybe starting to come out. And there was some pushback from the administration. They didn't want her to have that rainbow flag in her classroom. And as a response, all of the other teachers in the building got rainbow flags and put them up in their classroom like, no, you're not going to erase this. You know, people need to learn about this as early and as often as possible, because when we teach to love one another, then that's better for everybody.
And I think that is probably a good place for us to start. That's a great sentiment to start to wrap up on.
Yeah.
So the resources we have will be posted. You can check them out on our website.
Hey, I just saw Kathy Mead, who is watching. She actually just found the Trevor Project handbook, and she just comments about how much info there is. So please check it out. Even if you are an ally and you once prepared to have that moment, if you've already come out, it's still a great resource for anyone to look at.
Awesome. And and yeah, so you can check out our website, you can check out our Facebook page, check out our Instagram, and check out our YouTube. We will be posting lots of videos about why it's important for us to vote, why our vote matters, your vote matters. We will be posting our coming out stories, and we want to hear yours. So please post them in the group, put them out on Instagram and tag us. We want to see, we want to hear, we want to embrace you and your story.
We check our DMs too on, you know, across all social platforms. So we are a safe space for you. If you know, if somebody has come out to you and you don't know how to respond, or if you want to learn more about the members of the trans community and what we can go through, what to expect when you're transitioning or when your loved one is transitioning, how individual that is, all that good stuff, you know, we're always a resource for you. And we're always able to point you in the right direction, even if we don't know the answer to something. And on our YouTube channel, I have a very long interview where Sean and I spoke at length about transitioning and being trans in the year 2020 and what that means for trans people. So definitely check out all those wonderful social resources.
The last thing I would like to say is that we've shared a lot of info. So again, go to the resources, check it out tonight, tomorrow, whenever we post it. But I want to re-emphasize that, you know, today is one day out of the year. It's one day where we're coming together to celebrate what we've just educated you on today about the March on Washington. And you know, this gives us a day to make coming out normal. We're normalizing it. But come out whenever you're ready. This is just one day out of the year. You know, you will know when it's time. If you're trying to figure this out and you're questioning, oh, should I come out today? Should I come out tomorrow? Should I come out next year? You will know. You will know when it happens. And like what Gary said, you know, all of our stories for the most part have been in safe spaces. And what Finn just said, we can be a safe space for you. So again, we get DMs, we get emails. Please feel free to message us if you need someone to talk to. We are here for you. We've come out before. We are, well, I'll call myself an old queen because I have some gray hairs coming in right here. But you know, we have some experiences and we can share, we can help you, we can guide you. But just know, even if you're in a situation where it's tough, especially now since we're social distancing, we can be your family and we can be here for you. If you're not able to get to an LGBTQ plus friendly community, we can be that community for you.
I'm your family now. Go drink water and put a sweater on. It's chilly.
Sweater weather, sweater weather. Oh my God, it's sweater weather.
Weather.
All right, so thank you everyone for sticking with us and watching this wonderful live stream. If you have any questions, by all means, reach us on our website. And I'll say from us to the rest of from We Three Queens to you, have a great day.
Yes.
Bye.
Live fierce, be her, queens. That's right.
I don't have any of my Clack fans, so yay!
Oh,
Just make the sound effect.
Everyone, thank you and good night.